welcome to another episode of Taste of 1914 here at Dune Heritage Village. Today we're making a nice winter warming soup that's also economical and easy to make. It's bean soup, and the recipe comes from a local community cookbook called the Berlin Cookbook that was published in 1906. The ingredients are fairly simple. You just need some beans. And I've got white navy beans that you can buy easily in a store. You could also use homegrown beans that you've dried. And then you'll need 1 onion and carrot, as well as baking soda, salt, and pepper, and then the ingredients to thicken the soup: butter, flour, and milk. So the very first step in the recipe is to take 2 cups of dried beans and add them to a bowl, and then add enough water to cover. You'll need to let the beans sit for at least 8 hours, preferably overnight. So after your beans have soaked for at least 8 hours, overnight preferably, then it's time to drain them. Make sure whatever you use doesn't have holes bigger than your beans. You can do it at the sink and just let the water run down. And you'll also want to rinse the beans a bit. So once you've drained your beans, rinse them and drain them again. You're going to add it to a pot. You need a fairly big one. So now I'm going to add 8 cups of water to the pot. And now I'll add half a teaspoon of baking soda to the beans and water. Even in 1914, they knew that that will help the beans cook a little faster. So the beans are in the pot with water, but the next step is to add 1 carrot and 1 onion chopped. And so I'm going to cut off the ends, and I'm just going to do scraping, which is what people did instead of paring or peeling. And these carrots, since it's winter, would have been stored in the cellar in damp sand, so they'd be pulled from the garden and laid in a box of sand or sawdust, kept a bit damp, and that would keep them pretty much all winter. They'd get a little bit limp by spring. You could do the same with other root vegetables like beets. Things like the onion would be kept on the main floor in such a way that they could be kept dry, so often in like net bags, things like that. Homegrown or store-bought, you would do that. So I'm going to chop these a little bit finer. And now I'll add the chopped onion and chopped carrot to the pot and leave it to simmer for at least an hour until the beans are soft. The soup is all ready now for the next step, which is sieving. So make sure you've got that in a steady spot and pour. Now, as a modern cook, you could always pull out a blender or an immersion mixer. It might look unappetizing, but the end result is really good. I'm going to return the sieved soup to the pot. And you can see that I left a few chunks, just personal preference. So now I'm going to make what will thicken the soup when it's finished. It's cooking away in the back there. And so the first ingredient is half a cup of butter into your saucepan. And I'm going to let that melt. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of flour. Sometimes when you make what's called a roux, which is this mixture, it's an equal quantity of flour and butter. And you mix it up. And this is the basis of all kinds of sauces. You can add broth to this and thicken a soup or make a gravy. And we're going to be making a cream sauce to add to the soup. So the recipe calls for 4 cups of milk. I'm going to start by adding just 1. And this is actually made with powdered milk, something that was not yet public in 1914 but had been invented. and makes a nice economical way to add to the soup. I'm going to add the next cup of milk, and again just slowly adding so that the mixture can thicken without lumps. And this is the basis. If you wanted to add cheese, grated cheese, you could create a cheese sauce to make macaroni and cheese at home. So I've just made the sauce with 2 cups of milk to keep the soup a little bit thicker. You can use the full cup, 4 cups of milk, to create a thinner soup, whatever you prefer. Now I'm going to add 4 teaspoons of salt and a little pepper. Already got it measured on our plate. And then just return to a simmer till it's nice and hot, and it's ready to serve. And now it's time to taste the soup. You can add whatever seasonings you want. You could add more salt and pepper, or dried or fresh herbs to make this soup your own. It's quick, it's easy, it might require a little preparation, but bean soup from 1914 still hits the spot on a cold winter's day.